Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with an ARK 2 update. Now this is kind of my input, I guess you could say, opinion on what ARK 2 is doing. I have a lot of positives to say in all honesty, and I think there's a few really key negatives that I really dislike, but for the most part I'm going to kind of talk about all that stuff. Now here's a little bit of a teaser for you. There is no way ARK 2 is coming out in 2024. Absolutely no shot. I'll explain why I know that. I guess they could prove me wrong, but there's no shot, honestly. Like 2025 is the earliest that we're going to see ARK 2. I will explain why. I've got a whole bunch of like data up here that I've got for you guys. I'm going to show you everything, kind of talk about how I feel in this video. If you want to smack that like button and leave a comment below about what you think, I would be happy to respond and let you know kind of my opinion back and forth. But I'm going to go ahead and put this on in the background so you guys can see. Now, ARK 2 is going to be the next major survival game. No one has really come close to it. People argue that Rust is on the same level, and it's not. It genuinely isn't. Rust has never reached the player count and the longevity. I know it's still technically a game, but really PC is kind of like the major place in how it's played, whereas ARK 2 is the kind of like the next genre. Now the reason that it is that next genre, you can see it right now. Look at these images. Now this is recorded in Unreal Engine 5. Obviously it's video, but you're probably going to have gameplay that's not too far off from the actual quality that you're going to see. These graphics are incredible. Now, yes, it is something that you have to keep in mind, but I really want to show you this right. Nope, not that. I want to go back like 2 seconds here. Nope, that's not where I want it. I want it right here. So this is the kind of graphics that you're going to get in game. This kind of quality right here. You're going to see all kinds of different saddle perspectives, unlike we've had before. You're going to have something like Extinction blended with some form of Lost Island. And it's going to be really pretty because they're removing tech. Now, again, that's kind of just, my basics about ARK 2. The basics of the game itself, this can be found on the Steam ARK 2 page. This is not something that's made up, none of this. This is what they've released so far. Obviously, they're going to move towards a story-driven ARK. Their least popular, again, this is a fact, it can't really be argued. The least popular game mode in ARK currently is online official servers. Now, the reason that's the case is because ARK has admitted this. They've screwed up pretty heavily when it comes to cheating, INI, and then the lack of wipes in general. Because there's no wipes, no one plays. Because basically you can't get a foothold established well enough unless you have friends, unless you join one of those mega tribes. ARK has admitted that mistake, so they're going to a more single-player story-driven mode. You can see it right there, which is a really good idea in my opinion. I don't think they're going to have any major longevity of multiplayer modes that they host servers for. They're going to be wiping similar to what ARK Apocalypse is. Now, yes, it is something that is very controversial because people are like, well, I love the reason people play is to play with each other. Yeah, but unofficial is still going to be the major game that ARK releases. Now, the next thing you need to focus on, yes, cross-platform. People have been asking this for years. ARK 2 is going to have it with mods cross-platform because of the capability of the new systems that exist. Huge updates, right? Now, third person only. I love the third person version of ARK. For people that don't love the third person, I'm sorry. Third person is just a better mode because you get to see your character. You get to actually see more of the game. You can play more tactfully, which is exactly what this next thing brings us into. Instead of combat, I don't know if you've played ARK, but where you just kind of clip yourself into things or mesh into things and kind of just swing away, or like sword combat, you just hold the trigger down and then hope you hit something. Or if you're just late game, you just blast them with tech, and that sucks. But they're switching to this right here. This is going to be huge in my opinion. It's going to bring those members that play games that are like Dark Souls, that are like Lost Ark, that are those games where you can target lock, block, dodge, combo, stagger. It's going to bring actual talent into PvP instead of just a little bit of ability to grind and luck. If you haven't seen PvP on official servers lately, it is literally filled with 1, cheaters, 2, INI, And 3, people that will always have more time than you. Any of those YouTubers you watch, look at their videos. If you think that some of those YouTubers are hitting those shots, or that their INI isn't present when you can see through the entire water or the entire map, I get it. You have to use those things in order to play PvP, but that's not what ARK was meant to be. Like, let's just be honest. Some people be like, oh, well, these persons, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I'm not going against anybody. I'm just saying that's what ARK became instead of what it should have been. Now you can see this right here. The environment, I have a feeling, is going to be exponentially larger than anything we've seen so far. Reason I say that, most of these new maps they're releasing are either massive maps or have the ability to transfer around. I don't know if you ever played, I can't think of the name of the game right now, or just the concept, where servers are more of just a giant globe and you teleport to different locations on the globe. And I think that's more of what we're going to see in regards to the actual online gameplay, which I think is super cool. Now, the next thing that you want to focus on, you can see it right here, component-based item crafting. This means, and I'll show you a video of this later, they are actually going to have differences, so you're not just stuck to using a sniper for late game and then early game your long neck and crossbow. Literally, that's all people use. There's not really a point in having anything else, nothing of value at least, because it's like, cool, we've got things like a boomerang that have almost no value. So they're going to actually allow you to mod your weapons, which is going to be super cool and allow for a bunch of cool combinations of things that I'm excited to play with and toy with. Now you can see this event, that is huge. They introduced them with Extinction, where things would fall out of the sky and things like that. And then a little bit in Genesis 2, when they released the concept that the days changed the actual structure that was out in the globe of the outer space. And that was I think it's a really cool idea. You can see this right here. You're actually going to have people hunting you, which is a game-based thing. So even if you're playing PvE, it's not just a simple game. You actually have to think about what you're doing. Again, you can still see this right here. Template building, which is huge server performance. Basically, you're just allowing people to have these massive servers and massive structures instead of just costing these massive amounts of things that are just not great. Now, again, this is cool. They're supposedly going to rework the entire AI system for ARK 2. Again, there's a reason that I'm saying all this, by the way, for those of you that are listening right now. There's a reason I'm going for all these massive changes. And I'll explain that in literally two seconds. So character progression, you can see that right now, skill-based system. So it's not just like your current system where you've got these meta of players. You've either got a bunch of health, you've got a bunch of movement speed, you've got a bunch of weight, and you kind of blend those 3 stats together, and the rest of it don't really matter. Now, and then this is a cool one. You can see full utilization of water. Now, this is what I want you to see. Foliage react to wildlife. Water flowing actually downstream around things. Storm clouds, localized weather systems, smoke and particles affected by physical forces, and much more. Now, everything that I just said, I want people to understand this. That is all new stuff. The reason that ARK 2 is taking so long, even though I announced it back in November of 2020, dude. That's how long it's been, by the way, 3 years almost. They announced it, and then 2 more years till they actually do it. Now, that's not too bad, but backing off the pedal here, this game has a huge amount of stuff, and this doesn't even include everything. This is just the basics of stuff. They're going to have a massive amount of other things that are included into this game. Now, I think that that's what, they want you to see. They've got some beautiful images. It's going to be released. This is run by Vin Diesel. They've got big names into this. They've got an anime coming out with it. This is a huge product, and I think that people need to understand that. Now, what I also want you to think about, they have released all kinds of updates, right? I want to take you, and if you go back to their page, you can see all of these things. I didn't want to watch that again, thank you. You can see all of these things in order dating back to November of 2020. Now, I haven't gone that far, but I wanted to show you kind of a progression of how they've worked things. Now, this is back in June. Now, this is the big one. You can see this is where they released that trailer, and then obviously, this is a lot of stuff. They give you all of that information that I just talked about, massive things, PvE forces. They have some of this stuff that's not on their website that's actually here. But you can see there's a lot of cool things. Now, again, boom, you see their statement. They basically apologize for a lot of things they screwed up. If you haven't read this statement, I'm going to sum it up for you in one sentence. Sorry, I'm going to curse. We fucked up. We are going to fix it in ARK 2. That's essentially what this statement says. Lots of big things planned. Huge. So That's a big one. Now the next thing, right? This right here, they're starting to release the dinos. Look at how cool the actual render concept is. Now this is going to be something I have a feeling they're going to come close to how it actually looks. With Unreal 5, you can get all these small details instead of just having the blocky looks that most dinos have, and make some of these dinos scary again. Now what I like is they're going back a little bit to the point where individual dinos had fears. So I think they're going to include, because you can see this kind of thing existing, each dino is going to have a specific purpose or a saddle that gives it some sort of unique capability in order to do some crazy things. Now, if you don't want to believe me on that, let me introduce you to the next one. Next major update they released about ARK 2, you can see it right here. They have individual armor sets, and there's going to be unique properties and principles to each one of these things. Obviously, there's probably going to be some sort, because of the advancements that have happened in video games, you're going to actually have defensive capabilities to the shape of your shield. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of defensive capability with the actual structures themselves. This is probably a lot more gentle, right? You're going to get torpidity off of that. Whereas this guy right here, you're going to have different kinds of, like, I'm sure you got bleed damage, and this one's going to have some sort of grapple to it. The point of having this epic system of different kinds of combats is that you're going to have the ability, and you can see even the handles are different, to change your weapons, abilities, and statistics based on what you build. They said they wanted to do this. Now they're actually releasing information about this. This was released, by the way, back in March 3rd. Now a big update. Now another one. They're starting to pack a punch when it comes to the actual content they're releasing. Now most of it's concepts and not actual gameplay. But this is a lot of stuff. This is a huge change for Broodmother. You can see right here, it looks just like the Broodmother, obviously. They're going to keep the bosses somewhat similar, but look at the actual concept. They're going to have the hair. It's going to look a lot better than the current Broodmother, which looks like a video game. This looks like a real life thing, which is pretty cool. Now, next thing, right? This is where it gets really toxic, and a lot of people really start getting offended. This is when they kind of announced ARK Survival Ascended, what they're planning on doing, and how they're going to release it. Let me boil it down for you. First off, they said, hey, we're going to release ARK Survival Ascended with ARK 2. You buy both of them, and you have to pay for the extra DLCs for ARK Survival Ascended if you want to. Now, they immediately rescinded that, saying, hey, we're going to let you buy the two separately, ARK Survival Ascended, and you get all the DLCs that we make with it, and then ARK 2 separately. This pissed off a lot of people, and I understand it, right? You essentially go from saying, hey, we're going to let you buy a bundle package to, instead of spending $50, you're now spending $120 on 2 games. Now, personal opinion, ARK 2 is not coming out until 2025. They are canceling their service for ARK Survival Evolved and changing it to ARK Survival Ascended. I will happily pay $60 for the number of updates they are going to include in ARK Survival Ascended in order to actually make the game playable again, because a lot of people are losing their will to play ARK because of the bull crap that's involved. I don't blame them either. I really don't. You can see it right here. This is kind of what they're talking about. There's the bundle package, and they talked about it. Immediately they rescinded that, by the way, and they said, hey, we're not doing that anymore. Sorry. Now, here's another cool thing. So this is that, again, you're looking at the modern Carno with the different types of armor that you can place on things. Now, what I want you to focus on is the individual pieces. Now, there looks to be some form of different pieces that you can build for different dinos to give them different effects, including flags, which are going to have to build some sort of customization. They are doing major changes. That's a huge drain on servers in order to optimize and actually even create those kinds of things, having armor and stuff like that, because it just takes more stuff. Now, they also include things like this. Look at the changes they're making just in ARK Survival Ascended. They have a whole team dedicated to making everything ARK 2 feel like a brand new game. Have the same root, but feel like a brand new game. That is not an easy thing to accomplish, by the way. New creatures are still being released, new kinds of stuff. And then they released this most recently, May 19th, right? This was literally 10 days ago. Look at that. I want you to focus on something right here. That's a Brachy. So there's a Brachiosaur. Pretty cool, right? Pteranodon, you got an Anki over here. You've got some form of what I assume is a Parasaur. They're going back to their roots, which I really appreciate. Just dinosaurs, having just those dinosaurs, having unique buildable structures that you can have some sort of village in. I have a feeling Similar to some of the new games like Nightingale that are being released, you're going to be able to run your own kind of village concept and be able to have your dinos be safe if you want to play some form of PvP. And you're going to have these unique structures that can kind of be curved, bent, and changed the actual way they look. I think this is a really cool wooden structure look. I'm sure they're going to have more advancements to their game as they go, but when they release it, this is going to be old school ARK. No weapons, no anything special. It's going to be actual talent that's required to play this game. And again, we get back to square one, right? We go back to their most recent releases, and they basically continue to say, hey, we're going to work on ARK Survival Ascended into ARK 2. Now, conclusion, right? Because everything needs a conclusion here. One, ARK 2, in my opinion, will not be out until the earliest 2025, and my guess is mid to late 2025 if it does get released in 25. ARK Survival Ascended will be worth it. The reason that I don't think ARK 2 is going to be released is ARK Survival Ascended is going to be at least a 1-year game. It's going to get released in August of 2023 and go till August of 2024. Now, with the things they have planned, the new maps and stuff like that, quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, they have all that planned out. They're not going to have time to build ARK 2 next year. AKA, it ain't releasing until next year. ARK 2 is going to be a completely different game than ARK 1. ARK Survival Ascended is a bridge between the two with upgraded stuff. But other than that, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a completely different game, and people need to understand that that's okay. Yeah, you can see this right here. Studio founders, all kinds of stuff. Everything right here is what you want to focus on, because it does actually show that these devs, I know it's hard and people want their instant gratification nowadays. Give a little bit of time, give them a break, either support the game or don't. I'm going to support it. And for those of you that are like, oh, Teach, you're just the water boy now. I know someone said that last one. I thought that was funny. I am a water boy to nobody. I will always give you an honest opinion about these games, whether I like it or not. I think that this is going to be a huge game, okay? Keep that in mind. Huge updates, huge things. It's a lot of work to get this done, but it's going to be worth it every step of the way. And I promise you, when we're playing this game in 2 years, you're going to love it. I promise that. At least I'm going to love it. So hopefully this is something that you guys enjoy. If you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below, and consider subbing to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. And I've got a bunch of other stuff that you can check out as well. Anyways, if you're looking for your own server provider, G Portal, click below, 5% off, save yourself some money. All right. Other than that, Teach.